it was an experience, and I've traveled abroad several times previously, but by and large, this was one excursion that I will remember the most. Um, Personally, I was curious. In all of the movies you see about Ireland, about Scotland, you never see any people of color. And so I wanted to know if there were people of color here.
Mhm.
And I can honestly say that there weren't many outside of the airport, but I never was treated differently by the children of Ireland, by the families of Ireland, and certainly not by our families here from Delaware Hayes. And so it constantly placed me in a state of reflection of all of the good that's in the world that oftentimes we are oblivious to here in the United States because of so much turmoil that surrounds us, whether it be politically, whether it be financially, from a racial standpoint. You didn't see any of those obstacles or hurdles preventing us from experiencing that genuine nature of human kindness. So I thoroughly enjoyed the trip. I wish it could have been longer because I truly felt like it was an opportunity for me to get to know students that I wouldn't ordinarily have the chance to get to know in the manner in which that I did. And I believe that I'm a better person, and it has made me become certainly much more aware of how we interact with not just students, but families, community members, because you saw and you heard Colleen talk about it. You saw the overwhelming support from the city of La Hardi, and everyone came out, whether it was at the parade or us just gathering in the pubs. You saw a huge, overwhelming support of people in that community, and it made you feel good.
Did you have any really good interaction with the school there? I mean, was there a school that was kind of like your de facto host, or was it not shaped that way, the trip?
So if you recall the video, you'll see that there were several students who served as our welcoming committee, and those students attended the National School, which was located directly across from the Recreation Center, which served as our base, if you will. So aside from us being welcomed by those students there, they also interacted with us throughout the community. There's one young lady named Caitlin, and she was also a musician who performed for us in our going away party. She truly touched my heart. Everywhere I went in the community, she would make eye contact with me, and she would come over and speak to me. And lo and behold, on the last night, she came up and we were doing a handshake, as you saw in the video. And naturally, her dad was like, okay, who is this guy over here with my little girl? And why is my girl over here talking and laughing? And so as a result, she introduced her dad to me. And from there, it was just like, man, like, this is dope. This is a truly wonderful experience, because again, you see the genuine nature of people, the compassion, that sincerity that we talk about so often, that everyone says or espouses to have, but you don't really see that come out in our daily interactions with people. And here, it was just evident from day one. You walk into a pub, oh, you're with the group from America. Let me buy you a Guinness. Jameson over here. Get more food. Get more food. It was touching. It was touching.
Thank you, Adonis.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your partnership in the Sister City program or committee, and I just want you all to know that I don't want to speak for anyone, because we are all capable of doing so for ourselves, but certainly our lives have become enriched as a result of this experience.
Judy, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
I spent 8 days in Ireland, and I experienced the exact same thing. Most of my time was in Dublin, but I went to Galway, and I traveled quite a bit down the coast, so I could see it all. But it didn't matter where I went. You felt like those people cared about you.
Truly.
And I didn't know anybody else. But as soon as you open your mouth and you're American, it was like a magnet. And everybody wanted to talk to you. And it was so awesome. But I noticed the same thing when I went to Japan. When we went to Japan, everybody in the city hall came out to greet us. It was like we were rock stars. So I'm noticing it in other countries. I mean, Germany, we got treated a lot like that too. We don't do that here in America.
No.
And it's really sad.
And that's why.
We learn a lot from them.
Well, and Michelle and I were talking about it before the meeting this evening. It isn't until you leave the United States that you realize how much we take those common characteristics or common tenets of courtesy for granted. Our students and our parents who will have an opportunity to speak here momentarily will also share with you that we were rock stars, truly rock stars. And it's probably something that I'll never experience again just because of that popularity, and you felt like Bon Jovi or for me, Jay-Z or LeBron James, you know what I mean? But it was a great experience, great experience.
I'm so glad you got to do it. I mean, the media tells us, how big the whole world is, but it's not. If you take the time to experience, it's a wonderful place.
No,
I'm so glad.
no, they saw our hearts and we saw theirs, and it was truly wonderful.
Thank you.
With that being said, I'll turn it over to my students and parents.
Feel free to chip in.
Sorry. No, I'm not shy.
You can.
Okay. So that's your like, oh geez.
So we're gonna need your name.
Of course, Dominic Blevins.
Are we okay with addresses or?
Yeah, we'll skip the addresses.
Given as a minor.
They're minors.
I know, so I'm thinking.
All right. First of all, thank you for having us. When I went to Lauderdale into Ireland, I have always been out of the country before. I've been to Quebec, Canada, and the community there was amazing. Felt really welcome. Felt the same way when I went to Lauderdale, in Galloway, and anywhere else we visited. It was like open arms. How are you? Let me give you a little gift or something. It was really touching and nice to have these people actually smile, and it's not like a fake one or oh, go be nice to the visitors. It was a genuine smile, and they generally had really fun times with us, and it felt amazing knowing that we're here for a week and we're already treated like rock stars and celebrities and everything, even though we come from Delaware, Ohio, in this small town, and a marching band in the hundreds. So it felt really nice and very warming.
What was it like to stay with your host family?
First of all, they were the biggest household. So it was me, my roommate, and 3 others that had to share the household. And the family, it was 2 sons that were at home, a daughter, and then another daughter that were staying at home at the time, and then another daughter that came and visited during St. Patrick's Day. And the wife and husband, they were so welcoming and so nice. My host family, father, I guess, he was the kind of tour guide for that town, because Lardane is like in between a lake and a huge mountain. And he would take visitors that allowed um, that allow themselves to climb this huge mountain. He would take them up there and down the whole day, and it was so nice. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to go up the mountain, sadly, but we went to the coastline, we went up different mountains, we went to the beach, even though it was freezing, but we went to the beach. He took us everywhere that he thought would be an amazing spot for pictures and for tourists and everything in between.
What was your favorite part of the trip? If you had to pick one thing, what was the best thing?
Oh man, that's hard. Shoot. I would probably say the farewell party, only because everyone in that town came to that pub. I saw all the host families there. I saw even more faces that I haven't seen while I was there come to this pub, and we just celebrated. We laughed, we danced horribly, but we danced. Ugh. You can see me dance horribly in some pictures. But it was so nice seeing all these faces that I kind of grew to recognize a bit, and seeing them laugh with us and smile with us and tell stories and just hear all the nice things they have told us. And I'll never forget it. And I will love to go back and visit, like, at the drop of a hat, if I can. Trust me, if I could, I'll probably go right now.
Dominic, what was one thing that you found to be very different in Ireland, but then another thing that you found to be very similar to home?
Oh. Anything about that one? Probably the one big thing that I noticed that was different was that it was the only time that I really saw like house to house was in Galloway and in downtown Loughnane. And yeah, again, that wasn't really like house to house, but it's so like we're seeing the sparseness and everything. And even though they're like 50 miles that way and 50 miles that way, they will still know each other. They will still like know everyone from town, and like no matter where you are, like 50 miles that way, 100 miles that way, or 200 that way, you will still know them. And it felt warming knowing that you know everyone in that area, and you're sparse, you're scattered, you're everywhere. That's the one thing that I noticed that was different, was that the sparseness and not so house, building. The same, probably, like the regular, like types of people. You always have that going, the always cheerful, very happy people, and you have the homebodies, and you can still like recognize these people even though you're in a whole different area, whole different spot, and you still recognize these people, and that can helped me mellow in a little bit, knowing that I still know these types of people are out there, even though I'm in a completely different country, whole different mind system, whole different government. There's still these kinds of people that are the same, and it can make me feel not as stressed out. Even though I was with people, I didn't feel so stressed out being in a different country and everything.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dominic. Thank you for taking the time to come tonight.
Hey, no problem. Just as you can tell, I'm kind of like, but thank you again for letting us speak and hearing us out. So, thank you.
Who would like to come next?
Yeah, I thought you were coming.
Two-pack.
Took me really off guard.
Can we just get your names, please?
I'm Theodore Cochran.
And I'm Jacob Class.
Well, I pretty much summed a lot of it up.
Put the microphone around so we can all hear.
Tell us your personal experience. That's what we would be interested to hear.
Well, I went there and I stayed with the Langans, and I have to say that their family was really well respected, I would say. Everyone knew who they were, although my wife's brother did own the bar in town. But that brought us a lot of fame as we were in their house. But the thing that was really cool was my brother and I, our birthdays are only 2 days apart. And so we celebrated our birthdays in Ireland. And they surprised us with a cake at the bar. And that was like a really like surprising emotional thing for us because we just never had that. And at the time, it was kind of like nothing mattered with school or anything that was like stressing you out at home. And the only thing that mattered was that you were going to live your best life while you were there. And that was great to have that feeling. And I'm lucky enough that my parents have let me go to 6 countries in my lifetime so far. And I can say that Ireland by far is the only one that I could say is the second home.
Wow.
Going off of that, when my host mom's name is Mary, my host dad's name is Frank, and they're so nice and so sweet, and they have a cute little puppy that we got to play with the entire time, and I got to go with my mom to Ireland, and it was her birthday's on St. Patrick's Day, and so St. Patrick's Day night, my host mom went out and she bought a cake for my mom, and then invited her and my partner Alessandro's and mom to dinner, and they had just like a special dinner where they made homemade Irish stew, and took time away from just being able to spend it with us and inviting my mom and Alessandro's mom to celebrate that, and we got to celebrate their birthday, her birthday, with them all together, and it was really sweet, and I felt like a family even though I'd known them for just a couple days. It's awesome.
Culturally, how do you feel the trip enriched you? And would you recommend, if the opportunity presented itself again, that other students at Hayes take advantage of going?
Oh, 100%. Without a doubt. I mean, I would go tonight, you know.
I would go too.
Yeah.
As would I, but
I think it would be great if we had this like set for like us to exchange students every 2-ish years or so, and we just kept trading.
so you'd like them to come here?
Of course. And I think we owe it to them to treat them the exact same way.
Had any of them that you had met, had they been to the United States?
My host family came to the United States twice. There's one time where the husband and wife came, and they went to Vegas. They did not like it. So they didn't understand that Las Vegas doesn't really sleep. So they thought they had this great plan that they were going to leave really early in the morning to get to the airport, and it didn't work out. So, and then they went to Boston once because my host mom's brother lives in Boston, I believe.
How was the parade experience then playing for them on St. Patrick's Day in Ireland? I imagine it was pretty fun.
Yeah, oh, it was so much fun. It was a very unique parade. It was a lot smaller than we're used to because the town is just so much smaller. And their parade floats and everything were like they had a lot of their things in the parade were like machines, like tractors and carts that were pulling and stuff. And they actually had us go. We started the parade and we also ended the parade. So they had us go back around and end the parade. But everybody was so like excited to see us as we were marching down and everything. It was really cool.
That was pretty
Yeah.
They were probably not aware of it, but they had an MC do the parade, and they had speakers lined up all along the route, and so they knew one another very well. So the guy that was the MC was really making fun of everyone that came through and had little stories and anecdotes along the way, but the whole parade route could hear it. And although the parade route may have been small, it took a good 40 minutes for the whole parade to go through.
They were so excited. I probably heard more truck horns that day than
Wow.
they just laid on it.
Were you the only marching band in the parade itself? Okay.
They said that they only saw them in the movies, so it was big. It was like the actual movie star feel. Like it just didn't exist over there. It's not pushed on them like it is over here.
Did you play your music from marching band season, or did you learn specific songs that?
We did the parade twice. So the first time we did the parade, we did a march that we do for 4th of July, Stars and Stripes by John Philip Sousa. And the second time we marched our fight song.
Okay.
And then we had a concert on the final night.
Very nice. Very
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Would any of the parents, would you like to say anything?
No, we have 2 students already.
Okay.
Come on.
Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
So I'm Kylie Booth.
And I'm Alessandro Nocera.
Thank you.
Aloha.
It was tacky too.
Tacky Tourist Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us your experience.
Yeah, so I stayed with my host family were Sean and Kitty. They were like an older, not older, but all their kids were out of the house. It's actually really cool because since, that area of Europe is so little, like they had kids living in Ireland and in England, and they actually have one kid living in Australia, so I know that's like all over. But Sean and Kitty had actually been to Ohio before because they have family that lives in Kentucky. But the hospitality that I saw from them is unlike anything else. Like, I remember I emailed them and I told them about our interests because I was like, this is really cool for me. So this is how we are. So like, don't be weirded out if we're like doing weird American things. But it was fun because like an example of how nice they were, like she had asked us like, what type of like meat do you guys eat? Because they have so many cows and like all of this. And we were like, well, we eat chicken. And she's like, oh, nice. So like 20 minutes later, she takes this rotisserie chicken out and she's like, you guys want some food? Like, it was really funny. But they took us to all over the country because, it's so little. It's like almost half the size of Ohio. So it's crazy. You can be next to a mountain and drive 5 minutes and be at a beach. And I can't even explain how it looked because words cannot explain how beautiful it is. And it really made me think like I need to appreciate like Ohio's beauty more, because I'm sure if you know, because I kept saying, oh, this is so pretty. And they're like, oh, it's just Ireland. You know, we live here. But I'm sure if they came over here, they'd be like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, I don't know. So it really made me appreciate just the beauty of the world. Like other people have been saying that, like, it really is so nice. We get down in our own perspective, and just like getting a new view is like really cool. But yeah.
Okay. I think the coolest thing I saw in Ireland was just how beautiful it is. Like Kylie, the very first thing most of us said when we got off the plane was how green it was. We were like, well, we knew the stereotypes and everything, it was pretty green, but we did not expect it to be as green as it was. I think it's because in Ireland, they're a lot more serious about global warming and recycling. They are so big on recycling. Like, I wish America could be this green, but they don't really have paper towels in any other bathrooms. I didn't see one paper towel on the trip. They all had the hand dryers, and it was insane. And the views, everywhere we went, it was beautiful. There were like 400-year-old rock walls, probably older than that. And we got to look at so many castles. We got to go to a couple. And I climbed a mountain. And from that mountain, you could see almost all of Ireland. It was like 2,500 feet up. I climbed it with Josh Reynolds. And his host family was kind enough to take me up there with them, even though like I just met them that morning. And they offered to get us lunch and everything. They were really nice people. Like every single person there was incredibly nice.
Did you see any litter?
Not really, no.
Isn't
Almost
amazing?
none. Maybe a little at the airport, but that's probably because all the travelers. But outside the airport, no.
There's so much pride in their country.
Mhm.
We could learn a lot.
Did you learn any Gaelic while you were there?
So like, so even though like Irish is like a national language of Ireland, no one speaks it fluently, really. They have it on all their signs because they don't want the language to die, and they learn it in school, but very few people still speak it fluently. Like maybe like 2 people in the town did. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it's like dying. But yeah, so no.
Teddy, you learned some?
I don't want to talk about Gaelic football.
Oh yeah, they love Gaelic football.
I definitely did.
Now, is that soccer?
It's
Is it like actual, like
My
Irish
host
football?
family talked to me, and they said there's no way to describe the sport by using 2 other sports because that like lowers the meaning of what the sport is to them. Like a lot of people say it's a cross between rugby and soccer,
Okay.
but they say they hate it when people say that because it makes it sound like it's a cross between rugby and soccer, not its own thing. But there's like no real way to describe what the sport is.
Did you see a game or did you?
I've seen like a game, but not much of it. We watched a lot of rugby though. I don't know. Didn't you
You
go to a
watched it on
Gaelic football
TV?
game?
I went to like an actual stadium and we watched like their county play another county.
Really?
They got defeated horribly, but I asked them if it could be worse, and they're like, "This is probably the worst."
Wow.
So you mentioned rugby. Did anything exciting happen around rugby while you were there?
Ireland beat England, and the whole household went nuts.
On St. Patrick's Day.
I was at a pub when that happened, and let me tell you.
That's so funny. You kids in
I know.
No, it's like
I
it's like so weird because they like here in America, drinking is just such a like the wild children do it, but like obviously we didn't do anything, but like kids who were like 16 years old were working the bar, and you're like, that's insane. But yeah, so when Ireland won that game, I was at a pub, and just the amount of alcohol was just, the Guinnesses were overflowing.
Like what she said is so many people have offered me at least, probably other people, like a Guinness. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. And they don't understand that
Yeah, it's
it's
just what they
different here.
do.
So they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Kind of funny.
Was that on St. Patrick's Day? Do they
It's when they
celebrate it? Like,
have their-
oh goodness, okay.
Everyone's
Wow.
happy watching.
Super crazy.
It was the championship.
Oh my gosh, for the Seven Nations, yeah, Ireland was undefeated the whole season, were they not? Yeah, it was a big deal,
And they won?
and they won. They beat England in England on St. Patrick's Day. So yes, there was a lot of pride.
Well, we were thinking of all of you on St. Patrick's Day. Yes, we were. You were in our thoughts, so you did a wonderful job representing Delaware. Thank you. Go band. So hats off to you, band. It's not easy being in band and school, so great job.
As Josh is coming up here, Josh was a wrestler, and I am the booster president for the wrestling team. So I'm very partial to wrestlers. And I had asked him why he didn't go out for the wrestling team this year. And came to find out that he, and there were some other students as well, but Josh chose not to go out for the wrestling team and to work, and he paid his own ticket.
Great job.
Yeah, I mean, as she said, I'm Josh Reynolds. Hi. I guess when the trip was really brought about to me, I was astonished that we had the opportunity to go over. And my mom said, "You just got a job, go work." So I went out and I worked, made over $1,300, paid for the trip, brought my own money, and was told to have a good time. I was left for a week in Ireland. I had such an amazing time. If I could, I would go back instantly.
You have red hair, so that gives you.
Okay, they didn't mistake me as a traveler because of my red hair, but that's off topic.
You opened your mouth, right? Then they knew you were.
But I mean, it was phenomenal. The minute I got there, I was met with the greatest hospitality ever. Everyone there was so appreciative. They didn't even know, like, we were different until we started talking. So they thought of us as, you know, part of their culture and part of their family. And I definitely have to say, when I got to La Hardin and met my host family, I felt like I was at home. It didn't feel any different. The minute I got there, you know, my host family was very welcoming. I got home, you know, met the rest of the family, and was sat down. We talked the first night and planned out the entire week. We went to the bar the first night and had a humongous party. It was phenomenal. You saw all kinds of people there, young, old, you know, middle-aged kids. We just had a great time. And it was, you know, kind of the get-to-know-you party for all the host families. But really when you went home is when you got to meet them, because you got to sit down one-on-one and talk to them face-to-face to find out what they were actually like. It was beautiful.
So have you been in contact since your students have been back? Have you been in contact with the families?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
They were astonished that we got to come over there. And my host mom, Angela, was kind of joking around, you know, saying, "You really have to go back. I mean, you're pretty much another kid. You can take an eighth."
Oh, that's good.
It was heartwarming. I don't think I can have a better experience. And especially when they brought up the idea of climbing a mountain. I mean, I've climbed mountains with scouts before, you know, Virginia. Mountains are horrible, but I've never climbed anything like Mount Kilpatrick. I think it's the best view I've ever had. Breathtaking, you know, other than like the sparse hair that's up there. But it was beautiful. I couldn't say I've had a better experience in my life.
Did you feel there was a great deal of history to be learned while you were there, that you scratched the surface, or you got it all?
I barely scratched the surface. Say one of the first nights we got there, when we went to the King's Head, we sat down and we had a waitress come up and sit with us, and she started talking about the history of the place and how it's one of the oldest places in Ireland, and, you know, the history behind it. And I was like, well, this is really interesting. And then we go to the town, and then we start hearing about all the folk tales and everything from the families and, you know, the people that just come in and out, and it was phenomenal. You barely scratched the surface. We saw 7 castles, and I think that wasn't even anything compared to what the real history is.
How did you enjoy the driving? I know you didn't probably get to drive yourself, but did you remember to look left, look right, look left, look right before crossing a street?
I mean, we really didn't have that issue. Like, we would look left, look right, you know, check and make sure we walk across. But over there, it's more or less, you know, like, people are sparse around the cities, you could say. Like, you don't really see many people driving. But when you start walking around like the main streets, everyone's there. Like the bars, the food restaurants, the stores, everything was just buzzing. Like, you didn't hardly see many cars around. It was a different experience from what you're normally used to.
So do they use no bicycles then, or walk, or?
They usually walk. I mean, if they're going to go from like their house to the city, they're going to like park on the outskirts of the city so they don't have to drive as much and then just walk around. It's a very, say, vast community, but it's still kind of spread out.
Excellent.
It's only touched a little bit on the farewell concert, but the kids put on a concert, and they there was Atlantic Rhythm is on the show Ireland's Got Talent, and while we were there, they were in the quarterfinals, and they actually came and performed for us.
That's right.
As part of the farewell, and they we had a farewell concert at the church, and they were part of that, and we mixed it with part of the band doing songs, and then they would do an Irish song, or they would do Irish dancing, and then there would be more music, and then we went to the pub, and someone who just left tried to Irish dance. So it was very entertaining, and the family that I spent a lot of time with said it was neat because the American kids weren't shy about getting up and dancing, and that made all of them get up, and we all just, it was like a big wedding that we all knew one another and had a really, really good time at the farewell party.
All right. Well, thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Michelle Klass. My son Jacob spoke earlier. I really don't like talking in front of people, so this is a big deal for me. But I really wanted to take a moment. I had the opportunity to go as an official chaperone with the band. Wasn't an opportunity I was going to miss in any way, shape, or form. We, as a family, it was a sacrifice that we had to make. We had a short period of time to get our money together, and it was worth every single moment. I tear up a little because the town of Lahardon, they welcomed us in a way like, it was so humbling. And all the kids getting off the bus, they would come over to me. They all call me Mama Class because I'm in charge of uniforms there. So I'm kind of the mom that goes with them everywhere. And they were all kind of closely drifting towards me as all these children are standing in front of them screaming, just so excited and waving their little Irish flags. They were like, do they know it's just us? I'm like, they know. And then they were like, oh my gosh, this is for us. I don't understand. And I said, just be grateful. I said, just smile and tell them thank you. And they not only welcomed us, but as an adult watching the interaction of this town, Lahardon took us in as family. I had mentioned earlier to Elaine that we had ran across at the Cliffs of Moher another band that was there from the United States, from North Dakota. University of North Dakota was there. And I ended up in line in the gift shop with the director of their band, the head director, and he said that they were performing in 2 parades in Dublin for St. Patrick's Day. And asked, where were we going to be? And I said, we were going to be in a small town called Lahardon. He said, where is it? No idea. I said, I can't even tell you. I said, it's hour something from here. I really don't know. And I explained that the town had adopted us and that the kids had host families and that they were going to get to stay with these families for a few days. And he just kind of looked at me. He said, well, I've never heard of that around here. I've never heard of that happening. And I said, we're very blessed that this did occur for us. I said, we've had one person who knew someone else, and some great minds came together to have this happen for us. And this director was just, he's like, your kids will have an opportunity to do something that most children will never have the chance to do. I said, yeah, we're very aware of that. This town we came into, I was able to watch them take our kids in. Being a parent, and I'll embarrass my son for a moment, I was going to entrust one of my most precious possessions to a complete stranger. I was a little nervous. I trusted very much Colleen, who had repeatedly reminded parents, they've done security, everything's been looked at, and I did trust that aspect of it, but you still get a little nerves. The moment I saw the families, everything went out the window. They were more excited than the kids were, and the kids, when we were like Cliffs of Moher and at the burn and everything else, they're like, we can't wait to meet our families. But these families were more excited to get them. I saw more tears. I saw tears when we left from little kids within the families that felt like they had just gotten a brother or sister and they were leaving them. My son's host parents, who he still, as you heard, refers to as his host mom and host dad, they made like a couple dozen homemade scones for them to take and pass out to anyone who wanted them when they left. And that's what you do for family. You send them with food. Mary Gibbons has been in touch with me on Facebook, and so has Frank. And they've passed on her great-grandmother's recipe for the scones, for boxty. And I'm working on the grandmother's Irish stew still. I'm going to get that recipe still. We had the opportunity to go in their homes, like Jacob mentioned, for my birthday. That wasn't something that was planned. That was something that they chose to do. They didn't need to give up that time. And we made a point of saying, it's okay. You can have the time with the boys. We're okay with that. They insisted. And it was very, very beautiful of them to do that and take my son out so he could go shopping and, get this little cake for this and do these things. But the town itself and the people is made up of the people within it. And those people were overwhelming in their kindness in a way that I seek daily to try and teach the children I am around and remind myself to be kind to others. And I think it's missing in a lot of our society. I know the kids talked about the pubs. It's purely a meeting place of families. There were little ones all the way to the elderly who were there. And the first night we were in Lahardon, the host family asked myself and Kim Nocera to come over, and they're like, why don't we go over across the street to the other pub so we can talk? We want to get to know you. And we walked in, and we were the only people who didn't know everyone else in that place. And the place, just like in the movies, fell silent. And it was quiet. And then, the one woman behind the bar came over, and we were introduced. She said, oh, lovely, lovely. And then the sound came back up in the bar. We had the approval. Everything was great. People started coming over and introducing themselves to us. Word got around the Americans had showed up, and a band came down. I guess they were not even planned to be there that evening. The band consisted of a gentleman who was in his lower 60s.
That is not old.
No, I didn't say he was old.
Just clarifying, okay.
But no, he was in his lower 60s. There was a gentleman who was probably in his lower 30s who was blind and had his guide dog there with him. A 22-year-old boy, a 18-year-old boy, and a 13-year-old boy. the age range was beautiful. I loved that. And they sat and played, and I said, are you playing a certain song? They said, nope, we just start and then we see where we finish. And we just go. And that 13-year-old could outplay some of those other kids, but they all sat, and I went over and I said, hey, I've never seen that instrument before. I've seen something similar. They're like, you want to play? Go for it. Take it. Here, let me tell you about this. And I got to sit in that pub with my son and listen to the music of their culture in a wide range of ages. And that was just a moment. I can't tell you how many times, and I'm not someone who expresses emotion out front very often. I teared up many times on that trip. I saw children who were permanently changed by the kindness of others, by the opportunity to meet people. I saw kids who don't speak up for any reason, out dancing on the dance floor with strangers they'd never met, and totally feeling at home and playing Ring Around the Rosie with little kids. And it was just amazing. But the people of that town really need to be mentioned. They were more than welcoming. And I have, as of right now, I have at least 3 families there that I could contact, if not more, that have open and standing invitations to let us stay with them. I've made the comment, don't make that promise unless you mean it, because we're going to try and find a way to get back there. And they all said, no, we don't just put that out there. You're welcome at any time. We are all considered family there now. And that's not a word that's thrown around lightly. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew how amazing that town was to go, and they went to extremes for us. They went out of their way, and it's not something you see that happens anywhere. I have never seen anything like that. So, but I wanted to thank you for letting us have the opportunity. I know this is taking up a lot of your evening, so we do really appreciate it.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Is there anything I can answer for you as a parent that was with there? Are we good? Thank you.
And
Thank
did
you,
a great
Michelle.
job.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank
Thank you for taking.
You did a great job public speaking too.
I will say I happened to go to Kroger before the parade started, and in the concert I forgot something, eggs probably, I don't know. But both days I was in Kroger and came across not only parents but other students who were arranging their breaks or their shift around what was happening in Ireland so that they could watch the live stream on Facebook. They knew the times, and they had either shifted their schedule or had told their manager, hey, I need a break at this time because I need to go and watch, and because I couldn't take the trip or I couldn't do this. I thought that was very special that throughout the town there were people. I mean, granted, it was their children or their classmates, but still there was a desire to partake and see what was happening, even though they couldn't be there. So, yeah.
All right.
Nope. We have one more.
Oh, I think we had.
I just wanted to say a couple things. Sorry. Hi, my name's Bridget Blevins. I sent my kid across the country, and I stayed here. I classify myself as a copter mom because I hover all the time. And so it was a big deal for me to say, okay, you can leave someplace I can't drive to get to you in case something happens. But the minute they did the live feeds, and you could hear the town people when the parade went by, someone asked the MC guy, oh, that's all they're doing? And he was like, no, they're coming back. And I was like, oh, yeah. So me and my mom and dad would sit around the computer and we'd watch the parade. And then when they did the live concert, it was the same thing. Oh, are they done already? And you see Mr. Doherty go back up and go, come on, we'll play another one. And so the town, even being here, you felt how much love they had for our kids and what a great experience it was. And I got emails almost every day from my son's host family saying, hey, this is what we're doing, or hey, he fell asleep in front of the fire. And so it was like, I had a pact with my son that he would email me or text me every day. And that kind of fell after he met the host family. I was like, okay, I'm okay. And then I was constantly texting, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? And he was like, Mom, really? Leave me alone. And I was like, okay. So even being here, you could just feel how much they appreciated our kids and how much they loved them. And I just wanted to say it was such a relief hearing them be so excited about wanting to see more of their playing, wanting to see more of their marching, and then getting the email saying, anytime he wants to come back, or the email saying, I don't think I'm coming back. So, yeah, you are. But I just wanted to say it was such a great opportunity for all the kids and even the parents and the fans who got to go. I think their community could show our community a lot as far as just being friendly and being welcoming to everybody, even people from another country, where sometimes here it kind of gets lost and we're not always as welcoming to our neighbors as we would be someone, you know, from Ireland that would come. So that's all, but thank you.
I have a question. You mentioned you're a bit of a copter parent.
Yes.
Do you feel, two questions, I guess. Do you feel that you are better prepared for your son to go off to college? And do you feel that the trip prepared him to leave home?
Oh, he's been talking about leaving home for years. I mean, he's well prepared. I may, when he leaves for college, I may be okay after a couple weeks. It's not so much him, it's just the fact that he's not going to be there. So I think this gave him an opportunity to see that maybe in other countries that people are more welcoming than we are here, and we could learn a lot from, you know, a smaller community and how they maintain their friendships and their family atmosphere, that as opposed to sometimes how we lose that here. So no, I'm not prepared. I probably need to be prepared. But this helped because everything was okay. And there was no lost passport, no lost money. He had enough euros. I mean, he was fine. I was the one that was like, okay. And then after a while, it was like, okay, all right. So yeah, I think it did help me. But when he leaves, I'll still be a mess. If you see someone crying on the corner, it's me. Just give me some tissues. I'll be okay.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.
You had mentioned the parade as well as the concert. I know that they had over 70,000 views by the time we had left for both of those combined. So.
It drew me and my mom and dad together too here, just so we could sit around the little computer screen, because they have a little computer screen. And I was like, oh, there he is, there's Nick. And then you got to see all his friends. I was like, oh, there's Jessica, and there's. So it helped us to bond a little bit here.
Prior to the band's arrival, Julie and I were interviewed for a radio spot as well as a TV spot, and that it was just that the band was such a unique feature for the parade that they really wanted to have some background on it. So that was kind of frightening.
Yes.
You survived.
Infamous, maybe not famous.
Well, I think that certainly at our next meeting, we can talk some more about how to follow up this visit. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we will put this on the agenda for July and talk some more about what the future might hold after this event. Is that fair?
Sure, it's fair. Did you present my letter?
I did.
Good,
I did.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
William was very touched, as were Jude and Ray and the other folks in the town. So I was very fortunate. I was unfortunate that I had to leave due to some work constraints. I had to come back and wasn't able to be there in person. But being there in the village of La Jardin, I got to meet a bunch of family because I didn't realize when this all started that actual village is where my family emigrated from in the late 1700s. Wow. So to sit in Murphy's I'm related to Murphy, the owner of the pub, as well as then the Kellys went and met Willie Joe and Tommy, and got to go to the original Kelly homestead and things like that. So for me, it was definitely a very meaningful trip personally, but then to see the excitement beforehand. And they kept asking me, they're like, well, where's everybody else? Why aren't they here yet? When are they, what day is it? When are they coming? Why are you here without them? There was just such a sense of excitement throughout all of Attergoole, the parish, that they were very excited for our invasion.
All right. Well, I'd be happy if a couple of people came back in July just to help us kind of think about the future a little bit. Is that fair? Well, thank you so much for coming out tonight and for really giving us a very extensive presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and we will continue this next quarter in July. So, all right, shall we move on to Baumholder?
Sure.
Some discussion about that. Okay. We're currently planning a trip for the 14th of July, 14th of September, right? 14th of September. And tentatively, you and Lisa are planning to go, and some others.
Yes.
Do you want to just kind of update us on where you?
Well, we were supposed to go May 14th, and the museum will not be ready yet. So now they pushed it back to September 14th. We reached out to them through Skype, and they say that we can bring up to 15, 20 people. We've been looking for some veterans who have some interest. I think we have 2 so far, correct?
I've talked to a couple.
Yes, Stanley, you want to say something back there?
Oh, a couple questions. Generally speaking, how many people or the family members or how organized?
Well, we are in talks with Baumholder about that, and I did mention that we had an interest in a veteran attending with maybe some family members. So we just probably need better an idea what you're needing, and then we can talk with them and how they could accommodate. But they seem to be wanting to help accommodate when you were there, so you were stationed there, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And
62 to
yes.
64.
Right. So I think they thought that was pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be exciting. We'd be thrilled if you were able to come.
And I don't think you'd have to stay at the barracks.
Right.
So.
Well, but that leaves also a little bit more time to get some more veterans
Right.
on the road too. And we will be also actually in September, we will be in Germany. So
you will?
You will be anyway from our trip. So it absolutely was supposed to be there for that 1 day or 2 days.
Yes.
That would
That'd be
be
wonderful.
super nice to.
And the museum opens on the 14th, and they have a few things they're trying to plan either before or after, a few extra things. They just haven't told us what and when yet.
Mm-hmm.
They had it all planned in May, and now everything's shifted. I know we're still working on trying to get other veterans, anybody who was stationed there in Baumholder in the city, or actually in the whole county of Delaware, together for a group picture. And then we will take that picture to the museum and hang it in there. So they were pretty excited about that. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. So I imagine that there will be there'll be sort of an official delegation that comes from city council or associated with city council, but we would certainly like to keep in touch with other people who would go there. I mean, it's not that you would have to do the things that we're doing as a city council group, but there will be probably some major events that we could help you attend and participate in. I think that would be something that we could do, to have the people who come from Delaware be at the right places at the right times for the major event activities that are going on there. Is that?
Yes.
I think we could definitely do that.
Is there any of this in writing or?
No, Skype. Meaning on them allowing people to come over there, or?
I think one of the things that will happen is that between Elaine and myself, probably we will coordinate a little bit about how this delegation gets put together, and we could keep in touch with you. I mean, you could, if you keep in touch with Elaine and myself, we will keep you informed.
We just spoke with the official at Baumholder late last week. Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is anymore. It was a late night last night. Yes, it was. So, and to let them know that we did have some veterans. I had spoken with you and I had spoken with another one, and that I'd let them know that there was some family that was interested in coming over to see where their grandfather had stayed or their father had stayed. And so they said they thought that that would be fine to accommodate. So I will get with you. I have your email, or I can call you and we can kind of discuss that. And then what Mayor Riggle and I were talking is we will continue to talk with them through Skype and kind of get a plan of when we are going to be leaving and how many host families we'll need.
You know, another quick question. I've got my old little photo album that we put together when we were over there, and
did you find it?
Some other, yes.
Oh,
And
that's
some
great.
other items. Do you think they would be interested in getting that?
I think
before or
we could ask them, Mayor Riggle, what do you? That's fine. Or we could scan some of the pictures and create.
We will probably have further contacts with them in the future. So even if you took that over there and showed it to them, there may be some way that they can use that and
I
so
could
forth.
say, like, I'll bring it to somebody and you can ship it and do whatever.
Well, no, I could make copies. I don't want to take your pictures, but we can make copies and go from there.
Okay.
That'd be exciting.
Yeah, or if, especially if you had that with you, kind of, I think that would be interesting if you were there, kind of, with your pictures. So.
And as we talked on the phone, and Mayor Riggle had mentioned, we've had a couple people reach out saying that they were stationed over there, and that what we'd like is to do a picture and present it so it could be in their museum. So.
Did you were over there too?
Yeah, I'm just here to find out details on this.
Yeah. Well, the trip changed.
And then we also found out that they are sending a delegation over here October 4th in conjunction with that something that Ohio Wesleyan is doing. Did you know about this?
No.
Yeah.
Is this a Jay Martin
We're not real sure. And we thought maybe it might change since we'll be there 3 weeks before they come here. No, they're still coming. So I'm thinking that's the October 4th area. Then I got a letter last week from the
Consulate General in Chicago.
Yes.
About the Indianapolis event.
Yes. So now they want to go to that too. So I'm definitely going to that. And it's German American.
I would like to go to that too, actually, if I can. That would be really fun.
Well, we're trying to find out how many that we can bring with us. So I would like to do an Oktoberfest while they are here.
Yes.
Close the streets down, line those tables up, get a German band, get Schmitz up here, serve the beer, do it right.
Get some roast chicken.
Yeah, whatever we need to do.
Chicken.
Yeah.
But one thing, and I don't mean this.
That's okay.
One thing we definitely learned from La Hardane, is that correct? Yes. I've heard a couple, some people have like the accent going with it.
We were corrected until we pronounced it.
How is it La Hardane? La Hardane.
La Hardane.
So I won't say it correctly, I'm sure, because, but one thing I noticed was we really could learn from their welcome and the way we do host families, because that's something that when Baumholder comes here, they're looking to see how many people can come and where we can find housing for them. So I think that's something where Colleen's and Julie's experiences will be very helpful, hopefully. They can just stay with you guys.
More the merrier.
But so I think
that also depends, because I think it's more important for students to stay with host families so they can understand it. Just like when Sakata comes here, those students and a lot of the teachers and that, we put them up in hotels. We have B&Bs that we can put them in. So there's a little bit different.
Right, I think they were asking, the one conversation was them staying in homes.
Was it? Okay.
So we'll clarify that, but that is something we'll have to be looking for activities for them to do. We're kind of hoping they might, originally when they were talking about coming here before the change happened, we were hoping they would come during Fair Week because there's plenty to do, but instead we will be over there during Fair Week and they'll be coming right after. So
I think a lot of times you'll find it, and it was the case with the host families that were in Ireland, that they really wanted to spend time with our kids, and they had plans for them as well. And I think that happens with the Sakata kids as well. So when they do get enmeshed with the families here, they really want to spend time with them and get to know the American culture and what Delaware's about. And it ends up that we don't have to entertain them because they will be entertained by the host families.
It'll be football season. They could maybe catch a Friday night game
well,
or.
they want to go to the soccer.
They're going to the soccer game.
There's
I know
that.
that. That's why it's all.
And so we have to figure out kind of the age group coming. I'm thinking more college, but
I have no clue.
we'll find out as we continue conversations with Longholder.
They were meeting the night after our Skype. so-
They have their own little sister city board. It's not called that. They were meeting, and we said it would be so great if we could Skype while we had a meeting, except they're 6 hours ahead, so they're in the middle of the night right now, so it would not work. But
One of the things that's good is that they seem to be a lot more organized and welcoming now than they were for a couple of years there. So that's really good. I mean, for a couple of years there, I wasn't very sure exactly how to relate to them, but somehow that seems to be cleared up. Wouldn't you say now a little bit?
I would, but I just think that's their culture. They're not uptight like they are in Sakata. I mean, it's just like, oh, whatever. It's just the way they are. It's just, that's Germans. It's just the way it is. Nothing offensive. They just, no, I mean, it's just, they're so much more relaxed. They don't worry about things.
Okay.
You do, but they don't.
I'm not sure about Jennifer being relaxed, but.
we've
That's what we've experienced anyways.
I feel like things are on a better footing with them now.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. So, yes.
they've been a lot of fun to talk to. Very exciting. They're a hoot.
But they have a new group together though too, and I think that brings some fight too into the whole thing. And we would actually like also to start out a Facebook group from our German roundtable, and we had to account because of my own situation there, but and kind of connect with them as well. So that would be a gift, a good one to connect. And
That's so funny because this week, Peter Lang,
Yeah.
who used to be the mayor there, he just found me on Facebook and we became friends just this past week.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It's a good one to really make things happen. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, the Haas family, for coming. And I can't remember your name in the back there. Jason. Yes, thank you for coming tonight too. And we would like to have you stay in touch with us. Okay.
And I have both of your emails, correct? We talked both of it. So I will reach out later this week to both of you if that's okay, just so we can kind of, and perhaps what we'll do is have you come to one of the Skype meetings in the future. Would that be interesting?
Yeah, I'd be very happy if you could do that, just to make a little contact with them.
And that way they'll have a good, they really are, they want to talk and
joke.
Yeah, and they speak, the ones that we're dealing, they speak very, very good English, so communicating is pretty easy.
All right. Well, by the time we have our meeting in July, probably the trip will be mostly planned and everything. So we'll just be getting ready in a sense when we have our July meeting. So between now and July, we'll try to stay in touch with everybody. So good. Okay, thank you. We'll move on here. Is that okay if we move on the agenda here? Just a quick update on Sakata. One of the things that we can think about doing as a advisory board is to maybe try to form some subgroups of this committee to work with our different sister cities. And we will, with the Japanese group, there are a couple of Buckeye Valley students who are spending this year in Japan, and they're coming back this summer. And there are students at Ohio Wesleyan that we could potentially work with, perhaps. Just they could do this as maybe a school project or something like that to work with Sakata. I mean, that would, in some ways, that would be ideal if we were able to involve students in our Sister City program. I think there's a lot of benefit in that. So the more students we can involve, whether it's in high school, college, whatever, I think that's would benefit us, because we have limited resources in this advisory board. So we need to reach out to other people in the community here to have more things happen. So we can include the students coming back from Sakata in some thoughts about that, I think. So.
Also on Sakata, we got news that Rika is back in charge.
Oh, okay.
Of that, which I think is really good. Rika is the one that she's been here and she was taken out of that job and now she's back into the job. So I was really excited to hear about that. And also Sakata wanted us to keep in touch. I know the radio stations are sharing programs back and forth. And Sakata also wants newspapers from Delaware monthly. So I'm thinking maybe go through a month and pick 5 or something that had something that might be of interest, and they'll be in their library where they have a display of it. So is there anybody that gets the newspaper that would like to take this on once a month from this group? If not, it'll be lame, but.
Anyone? Anyone?
Okay.
We'll work on that. That's a little,
I want to get started
thing.
soon, so if somebody's not interested, then Elaine and I will take it back on. I was just trying to incorporate you guys.
I don't get the paper.
You don't get the paper, okay.
Okay, that's interesting. Good for them. Good for them.
They just want to keep in touch with what we're doing, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
And Rika's also interested in this email that I got about what we're going to do to further the culture exchange. So she was talking about that a lot.
Okay. Okay. All right. Do we have any other comments, both from the audience and from this group here for tonight? We've got some things that we can move forward to July, but it was very kind of you all to come tonight and take the time to tell us about your trip to Ireland. I think that was very valuable. So
Perhaps city council, come to a council meeting sometime.
Yes, I'd love to have them come to a council meeting.
Have a couple students come and.
Yep, that'd be wonderful.
Okay.
I'd also like to talk about maybe some of the committee get together and do some fundraising to help with the sister cities. I've got some ideas, but they can be tabled right now. But I'm a fundraising machine, and I'm willing to put that to work. And I think it can be a community event, so it could bring us closer together as a community as well. But to kind of tie in the different communities that we're twinning with. You've seen the Dublin Irish Festival. It's huge. And we have quite an opportunity here to do Oktoberfest or to do something with Sakata and bring the communities together. So
good. Thank you for that.
And for me, it's also so, what we spoke last time, that idea to get the community better involved with some evenings or just some meetings where we do some presentations on Germany or on Ireland. I mean, there's now so much there, I think it would be absolutely possible to have 2 or maybe 1 or 2, probably 2 for sure, sequences. So it's really more in depth and not just a superficial thing. And if we get a little bit more, that we spread the word more, mouth to mouth and on social media, I think we should be able to get, to run a little bit of people, you and Ohio Wesleyan, to get this international students involved, and maybe with our German roundtable to just reach out more and to get that going. I mean, that would be the ultimate thing, to get more people from Delaware involved, actively involved, and that they come, that they listen, that they understand the whole process, and that they get this connection. That's how you come to such an experience like in Ireland. If there's no connection, it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Well, when I think about what we did in January for Luke, the gentleman that rode all the bikes,
that was
88
amazing.
people show up on a very cold night.
Yeah.
Just very cold.
But that's the thing.
Very
We have
cold.
started there, to actually get a hold of all those people and put them already on the list to reach out to them so they come back for the next sessions to happen?
Well, you just put it out through social media and through the newspaper. This is the topic, and
Yeah.
just do it again.
Because that would be just.
We just have to have the
That would be a good
enthusiasm.
thing to get that started, really.
Facebook's free advertising.
Yes,
Mhm.
it is.
And there's also, Benjamin Hunsholt, who was from Ohio Wesleyan, who's a singer, opera singer, who would also be very willing to sing in German. There are lots of opportunities, lots of talents, that we and we could do something with Japanese or Irish people. I'm sure we'll find something, to make it really hands-on and a real experience,
Yeah, for some people, this would be a very natural thing. And I'll just use Jay Martin as an example. I mean, Jay Martin has made the whole relationship with Baumholder stronger over all the years, simply because he's taken his football team there. He wasn't doing anything special, just doing his job kind of with his soccer team.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
What is football to them?
It's not here.
Nor is
Right.
it Gaelic football. As
His-
we learned.
His soccer team. But Jay, it was for him something, part of his natural work to do it, and that's really great when things like that happen. So that it happens in the natural course of your work to integrate these sister city activities and so forth. So we'll find more of that. I really feel like we've kind of gotten started in a way, in some really good ways. So.
Well, we did, but now we're not going to meet till July. I mean, we had much success when we did the first Fridays, a lot of interest, and I just hate the thought that, okay, we'll talk about fundraising later. Okay, we'll talk about this later. It just seems like at these meetings, we don't get enough done. Sorry. I don't know whether we need to meet more often or whether we need to speak through Facebook or through emails. To wait in July to then talk about it.
Well, we're going to do.
Half over.
Well, in the meantime, we'll probably get this trip to Baumholder kind of organized. So.
That's fine for the people who are going. What about our community? What are we going to do here to show our community what this board is doing? Because that was the whole goal of what we talked about.
I would agree, Carolyn. I think that
we're going to miss the boat.
We're going to miss opportunity. I think that you're gonna not capitalize on the excitement that is still here with the students, the parents, with Colleen and I as we experienced it. I think we do need to revise our meeting schedule because stuff gets lost on email, or maybe you miss a response, or you skim something.
Well, we don't have time to plan. I feel like we
Right.
just don't have time to really get together and have ideas, everyone brainstorm and then plan, and then actually plan it.
Right.
So,
But could we not really meet every month at least?
like once a month or.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And
I've
maybe
been.
not in this forum, like maybe
Yeah,
we
like
just
a
go
board meeting.
to a boardroom somewhere, like go to the library and
Yeah,
sit down and meet.
I've been the chairman of this committee ever since it started about 5 years ago. And when I started, I wasn't working. But I have a full-time job now, and I have other activities that have developed also since I started with this. So I would be, I love being on this committee. I think I have a lot to contribute to it. But if someone else wanted to, could move things along more, because I simply don't have more time to devote to this, just for myself. That's my situation. So.
And I'm not saying meet monthly. I do not want to do that through Elaine. She has enough meetings.
Thank you.
And I do. But subcommittees,
certainly.
Yeah,
is
I would,
fine.
I would really be very happy if people took more responsibility for things. I'd be delighted.
But we have
So-
to work together anyways, if you think of the idea with getting the presentations done, it kind of fizzles out. So we have to kind of, if you work online or something like, you have to work strongly together, or we have to kind of coordinate or communicate. That's the first.
So the
and then
first thing that
coordinate.
we do is take this trip
Yeah.
and share it with our community. I mean, while the excitement's still here, have they shared anything at the schools yet?
No.
Have you guys?
No. So, I mean, we had good success at Willis. Do we try that again on an evening?
Like a Luke presentation.
so that not only the school is invited, but the whole community, you know. that is right there
Are you
relevant.
familiar with what we did with, in January?
It was in the school. The kids had an assembly on it.
The kids were invited, but.
Right.
The guy who biked around Asia.
Right.
Ah, light bulb.
Yeah.
So we hosted an event in the evening that was free and open to the public, though we could take donations. It was a horrible day. It was just freezing. It was
bitter
There was
cold.
no
It
school
was,
that day even. It was
yeah.
bitter
Well,
cold.
no, there was because they were at the presentation.
And we had over 80 some
We had
people
88 people.
attend to listen to their presentation. And it was him and his father, and they had a video. So it was friends of Mayor Riggles. And so that's something that if we could arrange at Willis, probably, and invite the community to come, if you'd be willing to share your stories. And
I mean, it was so amazing to hear your stories. Honestly, it was
The
really
enthusiasm,
wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Outstanding.
Maybe create like a presentation with pictures. I'm sure we could.
We could easily do that. We had a Facebook page in which everyone was interacting and keeping in contact with, and have the videos and everything on there.
And there were a lot of people who weren't able to make it this evening. Cadence Club had a large meeting this evening for voting in their new officers. So a lot of the people within the band were preoccupied with commitments they have for that. And I know a lot of kids, if they have a little more time to plan, would love to have been here as well.
So if you could work with what night of the week would be best with all the different organizations, I mean, all the different things in school, whether it be band or soccer or whatever, and then you'll need to talk to Paul Kraft
and Jerry about
and try to find out a date that would work over there.
Definitely.
And then get back with us.
And then we can
Definitely.
create a flyer and start advertising.
Yep.
And because
How
it's
does
the
that
end
sound?
of the year, and maybe might have to do the beginning of summer. With the end of the year activities.
She's got 6 weeks. She can do
We'll
it.
figure it
Is
out.
it really that? It's like it's
It's not 6 weeks.
According to my children, it's 54 days.
Oh, well, they got plenty of time.
But it is something to know, also if you hop on to Germany, for example, and if you would know somewhere what time frame that is.
Right.
So I could hook on with Benjamin Kunzfeld again also.
Mhm.
He's still very much waiting what happens.
Okay.
So we can plan that a little bit for the end, and that would be also good if the children presentation would be later, so it would kind of be a, good start out for the people to come and for you to go.
Okay.
All right. Yes, I'm very open to reshaping this committee or to.
We're not asking you to leave your position. We want you to still stay there. So you're not going anywhere. Sorry about that.
Nice try, Randy. We tried last time too.
Brandon, may I just one comment?
Yeah.
I do not want any of those brownies going home with me. Please help yourselves.
Brownies?
Where are the brownies?
Where are they, Josh?
They're sitting side by side.
There's napkins and everything.
And they are too dark.
Easy.
Can I eat them right side up or do I have to eat them?
No, they're, you don't.
All right. Well, our next meeting, our
Well,
next
can I
formal
say
meeting.
something
Yeah,
so first?
go ahead.
There was a letter that was circulated, a letter to the editor questioning the sister city, and should city council be giving money to people to go, or let me rephrase it. Should taxpayers' money be used on people going to sister cities? And so there was a little bit of a hoopla. I don't know that it's ever going to hit the paper. It was signed by 5 people in this community. We have sent a response back. We invited them tonight. They said it was too short a notice. But I just want you to all be aware of it. So in case something comes up, you know about it. And they could be watching right now. I don't know. There's nobody watching. Okay. So.
It's
live streamed on
It's-
YouTube.
It's also easy for me to distinguish between people who are elected officials and city staff and we who are private citizens. You know, I think that the mayor, the city manager, the staff, city council, they have their own probably budget for activities of one thing or the other. Whereas we as private citizens, I think that's a different story. Like, I wouldn't want city council to pay for my ticket or any expenses of mine if I went to Baumholder. And I plan to go to Baumholder, but I'm planning to pay for that myself. if Baumholder wants to offer hospitality to me, I'll accept that, but not from Delaware. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right.
That's how I draw the line in my own mind. So.
I worked an extra job at Meyer. I know I've seen a lot of you out there to pay for my trip to Ireland, so.
Okay. Any more comments tonight? We have our next formal meeting on July 10th.
I have one more. If
Julie,
we do
sorry.
want to do a subcommittee planning meeting, would we coordinate it through you as
Okay,
far as a
let's
date,
just-
time, place?
I would
or
maybe recommend just let's initiate it through email conversation.
Email, okay.
We did really well. I know Daryl, you weren't here for that, but when we planned a Thanksgiving dinner within like a week for our Japanese delegates that came, so I think we can start that and at least get a time that everyone can meet and then in a place, whether it be here or whatever you want to do, and then go from there.
Okay.
Sound good?
All right, July the 10th for our next formal meeting. And are we adjourned?
So moved.
Okay.
7:43.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Very interesting. I got 4 things that I got to follow up with.
Good.
I already have emailed Jay.
Okay.
So we're the October. That's exciting.
He said, I'll bring my louder house to do this. I'm like, okay. I just, so we're gonna have to all plan before I go.
Right. You can't have Thanksgiving dinner like a week before. No, that's awesome. That's exciting.
We did Thanksgiving dinner.
Right. But I think October is your interesting because weather. That's and I think we should do a St. Patrick's Day celebration. Do we? I think it's so.
We do have a that we started.
Is that still going?
It's still going. It's bigger. I didn't know.
I didn't get there. Okay, well, that on the list but that's exciting. Yeah.
They were so, wasn't that fabulous?
You know, I went to Spain in high school. I went with my Spanish teacher, and we're friends on Facebook still now to this day. I mean, it's amazing. My mom worked a part-time job. She paid half. I babysat and paid the other half. And I get it. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's
Good for them. It's so great.
Well, yeah, that might make sense.
I know. Were you there? That's okay.
I'm just gonna get with her and have a decided how it's the Irish.
Okay. Very cool.
Have a reunion.
Oh, tonight? Okay. Oh, that would be good.
What, Jameson's?
Once a week? Okay. Darren, we were there. I'm gonna go.
Oh, that was me.
Hi, Julie.
Is that yours?
Oh, great.
My sister-in-law lived in
in the world this week.
Yeah. Her friends, her native aunt, they're like sisters. She lived with a family and
This is a mall, and they have the wall of camera.
Oh, well, that's great. Yeah. Dive.
I'm thinking my niece.
He actually did bust.
And I've got updates.
In Galway? Are we with the Galway girl? Did y'all see?
Yeah.
My daughter, he did.
I just went on an honor flight Saturday. And our oldest gentleman was 97 years old. And he still plays the clarinet. And I was out in the cold.
next week.
Uh-huh.
I guess she's taking the next week. There was, yeah, she's a double meeting, but she asked me where.
In May.
And there was a little girl email talking, or what she went down to the brain, they were the email, and they started their cadences and just.
I mean, I understand that.
You don't get that response here like they do there. And so yes, it's so empathetic. I'm proud to say I took the opportunity. So smart to be a man. There was a 7-year-old that William was talking to who told him that the best thing that could ever happen in his life was his marriage.
I forgot all the gifts that they sent for Delaware.
Yeah.
Okay, we took
I'll present them at
Yeah, so
the
we probably
there we go.
don't know exactly.
This was the council they used for.
Okay.
I love that. And that was so cool that day. I ran back to the bus. I was like,
When we went to.
can you imagine what they were back then?
Did you take that? No, David.
You can still get.
No, it was on Facebook page.
Oh,
And you're making me think.
Derek Davidson. Derek Davidson, yes.
What's going on?
Thank you so much. Such a beautiful book. Shutterfly. Oh.
This was only.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll regret that.
And
Right.
one of our family members is.
Just need a free trip back.
Okay, we'll go. This is gonna be every other year.
Actually, Hayes is gonna be every 4 years.
We don't want to share with Buckeye Valley. We like Buckeye Valley, don't get us wrong, but we really.
But they won't be there that year.
We love that. There are towns.
Well, they're not going for another 3 years.
So, about Lisa, I know that she's been working there practically. That's going to Ireland. I recommend Facebook.
And I really want.
Next year.
Wait, are you serious?
Are they gonna do that one more time? We're in talk.
But she's taking.
It'd be the same.
For next year, fabulous.
What do you, I need some help.
I'll help.
The symphonic choir.
Are you required to use singers and? Yeah.
I'm not prepared.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna be working in my, I'm like, I'll work at my. I'm on it. And I don't need any new clothes. I'm not girl. I got it.
Okay.
It's beautiful. I know. Nice meeting
Thank you
you.
for joining us. It's actually. I didn't go to one of the big jewelry shops, I went to one of the small shops. So sweet. Walked me through everything. Yes, I'm sure there are. Well, we ran into one that was extra.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
But that could go either way.
Other than that, you consider all the people we ran into. There's everywhere. I like it. It took a while to like it. And the third time they meet in the line, they might not necessarily.
But that's home to me now. I've never been somewhere so far away and so different from where I am. It felt so at home.
Are you Irish?
I am, but But apparently I was condemned because apparently my last name came from farther south. But it was just, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Yeah. It's not that bad. Where's south? There is there.
The students that came that I talked to, no one was like, how can I die? And no one was disappointed. And considering the type of someone who like, I mean, really painted like who like
No, I never heard from a single people there. Not
That's amazing. Yeah, I got that.
right. One of the top players, you can see in the first round down and the break. And you know why they're playing for all of this? Because they wanted it.
And you got the tubas there.
Yeah.
That was
Getting everything there was an experience because we had to go hash on notes. I was standing up around there checking. These instruments.
We know where the strings lie and where we
guys. How did you get this? They just did they say how to video games? Wi-Fi and all that. They all had their phones.
all the time like we are.
So they didn't have what they do?
There was some of them, some of them were listening more for music. They actually once in a while someone listening. Yeah, music's such a big part of their lives over there. Yeah, it's a big deal. They're face-to-face learners.
Yeah, and they treat kids as if they're adults. I mean, they have meaningful conversations, and they don't talk down to them. It's, oh yeah.
No kidding.
And it's such a social thing.
I can't imagine. Yeah, it's such a culture. I went to Smith when I was 14. I know exactly what it was like. They don't know any insulting or anything else.
And the kids, I would listen. Because I
Yeah, you didn't hear anything.
but I'm kind of like.
Yeah.
And most of them were like, oh, thank you so much. We signed a contract.
Yeah.
And they would just stop and look at us. And I had one guy argue with me quite a while. He was entertaining. He was actually more entertaining, but he was not one of the things. Yeah. They were not ready for American teachers.
Were you wiped out?
No pizza. They bought them all, everything. They had to close.
They'll know next.
It was, what was it, you paid for like, what, 12 pizzas? I went over and bought several.
I know they were in Murphy's. They were probably, is it Irish 15 pizzas?
I've been in Galena one night, this might be sort of, you know, now. The chaperones and the fans stayed in Galena. See, I'm getting better at archery. I do too. Valena, with the kids were staying with the host families. And we got back to Galena, and it was like just barely after midnight. So the little shop across from the hotel was closed. We were starving. We were all so hungry. And so 3 of us went to go find food. We got really rough directions. We went walking up the downtown area of Valena and found a pizza place till 4:45. So we walked in and there's this young girl working in there. But there was, everything's listed differently, like there was minced on the pizza, and I'm like, minced what?